Hello, everybody. Welcome to another night at the crib. We're going to preview a little bit of Utopia and just give some little tips about some other things and probably merely speculate. Um, it, uh, and probably just speculate as far as what the future raid targets may be based on the information that we have and things of that nature. But let me introduce everybody. It's We have a Dr. Death,
Hello.
and we have Senior Tito,
Hello.
and Father George,
Good evening.
and I'm showing a blank spot in there. I'm not sure who that
Nope, it
is.
just went away.
Okay.
I think it was Dr. Death Twin, but
Yeah, it was my
For some
twin. I
reason-
got kicked for a second, had to reload, and my twin was still in here.
Okay. Alrighty. He was wearing the hat, though, right? The tinfoil hat
yeah, the people had
and the Tito.
the person
Tito
magic for the
kick
tinfoil.
Okay. Anybody have anything to start with, or I can screen share and start working on the slides, and hopefully the phone will get answered.
Yay!
Yeah, you can start, I guess.
Okay. All right. I will screen share. Well, yep. Somebody's.
Yeah, I heard
already-
hello.
Yes. We also heard that we already expect a Dr. Death. Here's the thing already in chat. But as normal, we're going to start off with bug fixes. Remove the clear slot button displayed when selecting a haul in the shipyard, as it served no purpose. Instead of fixing the display, which adds 100 deflection when a hull is fitted with the cesium Scarab UAV. Does anybody notice anything with the clear slot? I don't know. We'll skip to the next one. Fix an issue where the Forsaken Arena post-combat pop-up would... Yeah, I've seen this one, and people were getting 500,000 VXP that they could take screenshots of, but they weren't actually receiving any VXP. It just scared people. Fix a bug where the ironclad bloodthirst icon was not appearing in combat. Generally, all the targets I'm doing on auto with the ironclads, so I didn't notice this. Did anybody else?
I'm not seeing the damn slides.
Yeah, I think you are not screenshotting them. You must be waiting to approve the screenshot thing.
It says I'm presenting to
trying-
everybody. I'm
Yeah, I
presenting
was trying to
everybody.
load damn YouTube, and I can't even get that to load right now. So
No, you're not presenting to anybody.
Okay. 1 second. I guess I can. I will turn off screen share and turn it back on. That's the only solution I can think of at the moment, unless anybody else can think of something else. I can't. Okay. Stop.
yeah, no slides in YouTube either.
Okay. And let's try this.
No.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
it works.
Okay, and then I'm going to put myself on to present and go from there.
Hey, I see him now in here at least. Let me
Okay, and
go
I
see.
think they're
Yeah,
on YouTube as
it's
well.
on YouTube. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Nice legs.
Yeah, she's working on fixing that bug, but
She needs to bend over a little more.
I think it's George's fiance over there, because as you can see, she's trying to break the puzzle where it's broken over there.
yeah, well,
No,
George,
mine's in slide 6.
yeah, George has already picked
All right.
out
Yeah, I already picked one out.
one.
All right, fair enough.
But anybody notice the ironclad bloodthirst wasn't working? I guess it's working now, and I guess it's not a huge issue. But I've always
I
been
auto with all
autoing it.
my. Yeah, I
If
auto
they
with
put
all
the
my
bra- if
ironclads,
they
so I have
put-
no idea.
yeah. If they put it as a price in the rate and it's that expensive as it was before, it has to be fixed. They are not going to put something as a price if it's not working, right?
Yeah, they would never do that. Fixed an issue where the limited offer pop-up could incorrectly show the discount percentage as 0. Well, sometimes, that value, is not really a value. So, I don't know. I'm thinking about in future bug fixes only, not even just only talking about the relevant ones, but only listing the relevant ones. If you want to go to the forum and read the irrelevant bug fixes, I'm thinking about that's a way to shorten this stuff up. And then they thought about renaming Assault and Siege DPS to Ship and Structure DPS retrospectively. So
They thought about it. They thought about it.
Why would they?
This one is a bit concerning, because if they have to put ship and structure so people understand what assault and siege is, we're in a problem here.
Why
Have
would
you
they
seen
even
the forums
waste-
lately?
Oh, the forums are crazy.
That's
but still,
why.
why would they even waste time or programming to make that change? I mean, that is just stupid.
Oh, why did they do the first one? Remove the clear slot button displayed when selecting a hull in the shipyard, as it served no purpose.
I guess it's so they don't have to actually fix the real problems that are in the game, but they can say they've done something.
Yeah, that's sort of my point. That there's some things that they could fix that would actually impact the game. That's what I'm going to keep on. I'm going to add to this list of, when they give us an irrelevant bug fix, I'll give them a relevant bug fix, and see how that goes. So are we done with our? I don't even know, what does she have? A box of candies? I don't know what's going on behind her, but
I can. Jeez. Anyway,
alrighty. Before we got to Utopia, I've been noticing so many bases that are relying on very old strategies as far as what to do at the entrance to their base, where they're putting labs. Some people are putting resource generators. They're congregating them all there to make them extremely easy for people to get bloodthirst. I mean, on the left-hand side, I put a table together of what I consider to be, these are labs and utility buildings, and I've totaled up all the armor. This is 12 buildings, which gets you 60% to bloodthirst, just with these. And if you look at the bloodthirst stats on a lot of ships, even 60%, because it's every time you get 5% of whatever the max is. So 60% just matters, 60% of what the full bloodthirst does. So, if you, my strat, I guess I'll go through the impact. Is it would take 500 lab/utility buildings to equal one level 15 warehouse. 300 labs/utility buildings to equal one level 8 turret. So they're not doing anything as far as getting you to the 25% that you may want to get to as far as a quote-unquote bubble pad to prevent people from trying to go in and prep your fleets and do whatever and get out. They're not providing you anything substantial as far as creating that. And also the resource generators, you people, we've been telling you for a long time, if you haven't got rid of your resource generators each, they're worth 1,500 each. So you would need 1,333 level 12 resource generators to equal one warehouse. So you're not gaining anything out of this. So I just wanted to throw that out for everybody as far as like a little point, because I took some screenshots of like active players that are out hitting bases and doing whatnot, but it's not evident in the game that this is what's going on, because these numbers over here, as far as how much armor is on a building, it's not in a blueprint, it's not in the info on a building. The only building that it works for is when you attempt to upgrade a tower. It's not there for these other buildings. So you don't see the fact that your advanced lab is 4.4 thousand and your level 8 tower is 1.2 million. So it's not in the game for these people to see. So it's understandable. That's why I wanted to bring it up at this point, as far as it's not helping you in any way. And what I've done personally is I've spread my labs around in different areas and force them to spend more time to try to hit them. And I also put the EMP blast on them, which has a little stun effect. So it takes them more time, and then there's potential that they're stunned for 3 seconds. So potentially a cataclysm might mess them up a little bit just for trying to get the bloodthirst.
Well, the price that you pay for having those stun things on right now is that the prides are all gonna get their prideful ability while they're stacked with it. Unless have they fixed that yet?
Oh, we
I don't think
wouldn't
they've fixed that yet.
No, they
Okay.
haven't fixed
I
it.
think that's still a glitch. So yeah, I don't know that I would put the stun thingy on it right at the moment, because that just is asking for someone to come in with a stacked fleet of prides and walk your base.
Yeah, I mean, that's one possibility. But my main thing is to spread them out. Don't put them right there. Make them spend, 80, 70, 80, 90 seconds going around your base and killing everything. Don't give them that, drive-through service of like, okay, here's everything that you could hit to get bloodthirst, and I'm going to put it right by the entrance to my base. So that's why I put it up there. But that is a good point, George, and hopefully they'll fix that. That's one of the known glitches that's out there, and I'm just playing by the rules. Anything else here that anybody sees?
No, I mean I just think it's a really good visual, having all that stuff at 48,000 and one tower. Yeah. And actually, what we should probably add on that is that your bubble pad is based strictly on the actual items hit points and not any added by armor.
Yeah, it's your base armor. It's not anything. Yeah, it's not any plates that you might add or anything like that. It's just purely base armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think you got it all. That's a good slide. I like that slide.
Alrighty. What Tito's been dreading, and what
Water?
caused Dr. Death's hair to fall out, besides the tinfoil hat? Utopia.
Dystopia, not utopia. Read well.
What is it?
Dystopia, not utopia.
Yeah.
Utopia is something perfect, and the rate is
Depends.
it's away from perfect.
Okay, and I've decided to skip through everything we've been doing in prior raid things where we keep on repeating the same shit over and over again. So tier 3 through 5, it's the same. Blitz targets, same. Campaigns, the same. Uranium's the same. Zoe's Man of War is the same. So if you've done a raid before in the last, however, 2 or 3 months, you know all this stuff, and you can go back to, previous raids. And I'm just saying these things are all the same based on the briefing that we've been given, because it's just appears to be a copy and paste.
Yeah, but she's not the same, and I sure would like to get to know that.
The big change that we did see was tier 6. They've added a 107 target and required a 2-target completion to get a tier 6 bonus, which adds up to 6.5 million.
Which is a joke.
Well, it wasn't a joke until they put out, like 145 prizes or 135, whatever the number is. I'm sure George's buddy Andrew knows exactly how many after having to put pictures next to all the prizes, which, as soon as I saw that list, I'm like, oh, poor Andrew. He's going to end up with Oh, what is it?
Carpal tunnel.
Carpal tunnel. Yeah,
Yep.
putting that all together. And
But I think the problem is not the number of prices. Is the price that is how many points you need to get one of those prices, especially the limited ones. 10 million a piece of armor, I think, is way too much, because you're asking the normal people that normally just get enough for the whole weapon and something like that, and they have to struggle to get that. If you ask them to get 200,000 just to get this new price, it's impossible for them to get it.
I think it's
Oh, well-
it's 180. I mean, I didn't include the Ferox because it's 120 just to get the icebreaker and its new toys.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, right? Just
There we go.
think about the numbers from the past raids. All right, go back through all the past raids. What are we looking at? Maybe 2,000-3,000 players that are getting over 100 million points, and the average player base is lucky if they're hitting 50 million points. And then Kickside wants to throw this shit out there. I mean, are they doing this on purpose just to tell the primary, the largest portion of their player base that we don't care about you, fuck you? I'm sorry about my language on air, but is that what they're doing?
Well, it's sort of odd from a communication standpoint because the only way that somebody's going to figure out the 107 based on what we've seen, and we're going to talk about the 107 in a second, I guess we can start doing that now, is that either you're going to go outside of the Kickside communication and go to a YouTube video of somebody that's figured out, hit this one, hit this one. Let's move over to that. Because it's basically going to be whack-a-mole is the 107 target, is the way I see it. It's different from other targets. Rising platforms, but they rise based on some sort of predetermined timing. It's not based on you engaging their space, quote unquote. There's no giant large launcher. You're going to start off in a little in your little cage, and then a timer starts that triggers all these things popping up and shooting at you. And after they rise, you got a little chance to hit them before they don't go back down like whack-a-mole, but they then start causing damage to your fleet. And we've been warned that the ballista is, which is, I'm assuming, long range. It's long range for the players. It hits very, very hard.
Here, for people that wants people to prep this for them, don't start them, because if you start them, the guy that is trying to then help you will find all the turrets already surfaced, and they normally start shooting earlier than before. So it's going to be painful for whoever has to try it.
Yeah, here's the little cage that you start off with, and here is the towers without the turrets on them.
I already see one up on
the platforms or whatever.
Yeah, in the top left, you see one already up.
Yep, one's popped up, and
I'm not liking this.
And now there's another one the other direction, and he's taking damage. Yeah, it seems like a very stressful thing to do, and it's going to be probably best done by somebody that's probably
everybody
Ritalin or
is
something.
probably waiting for somebody doing the video first and watching which is the correct path to do this, if there is just one or there are several. But I guess there's going to be just one, depending on if the turrets emerge one by one, or you find more than one emerging at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the issue that I have with this is that it seems that it's a straight up blitz with your powerful hull thing, which is not the point of a skill hull.
Except for unless it's a speed type thing where you're not supposed to be you're blitzing but not taking damage. You're just clicking out everywhere on the map and need to know where to click next. So once a YouTube video comes out, at least the way I envision it, once a YouTube video comes out and says, you hit this one, and then you hit this one, 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 and you can figure out a strategy, or somebody figures out a strategy on how they all rise up. And you can probably, if you're at home and you got your own, if you got Windows 10, you have your own little screen recorder. You don't need to do anything else. You can tape it yourself and watch and see how they rise over time and try and figure out your own pattern, or wait for somebody else to do it on YouTube and just figure out which direction to go at any given time and figure out how much firepower you might need. You know, if you have a Hardlocks cannoneer and 4 other cannoneers that are got Millennium guns and are properly outfitted, maybe you only need 2 to take down one of these turrets before it fires at you. So maybe you pre-position them. I don't know. I'm just speculating at that point. But
Wiz Holsh, I expect him to have this out before I stop my raid, so I know what to do. I'm not doing it anymore, so he's gonna have to do it this time.
Well, you know,
Holsh is in the video.
Here's the thing that I'm worried about in this. Okay, from all the pictures that we've seen, and I don't know if this is the truth or not. But the big platforms all look like they were ballistic cannons, and then the little platforms that pop up out of the water just look like they're popping up with just being the short-range thrower weapons, right? But in none of the pictures does it show any other buildings or pylons. So that means if we're prepping this for somebody and they don't have a building or a pylon in there, then we're going to have to leave a weapon that's already up and ready to fire for whoever we're prepping for.
That's going to be a huge issue.
You know, and how
I mean, I see up there in the top left of this picture, there's a pylon there. You know, so maybe that. You know,
what did you saw that?
The pylon, right there in the top left. Yeah, that's it.
I thought that was one of those launcher turrets, because if you look at the
launcher turret
thrower, because if you look at this one that is just at 7 o'clock for the ships, it has the same image on top of a platform. So I think that's a turret platform, not a pylon of those. But I could be wrong.
That would ruin everybody's day. If you could
Unless
not prep,
you
if
find
you could not
one
prep
launcher of those that are short range that you can dodge. You find that, it's fair enough. But
if you can't prep 107s, I'm going to tell you right now, one of the worst things that they could do in this raid is mess up this 107. Because if it's too hard to prep, or it's too hard in general, they're going to lose the entirety of the community. Particularly with the amount of points that people are projecting that they want in the raid. That would be an immense mistake to not let this be preppable.
Yeah,
like I said, I may be wrong.
Yeah,
I may be wrong. But that's from the pictures they've released to us. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Alrighty, I'm not starting off with the big banger here, the icebreaker, because you need to unlock all this stuff before you get to it. So this is the Imperion. It's a generalist hall. This is one of the 3 things that needs to be unlocked before you can get to the icebreaker. And it's a remote targeting hall. It actually looks more like a camouflaged icebreaker than the icebreaker does with that whatever's going on down below it. And the big thing that I see is it's sort of a generalist citadel. It's not as powerful. Doesn't have the mortar reload. If you have the Harlock Citadel, it doesn't have the projectile speed boosts. It's the assault. It does have assault DPS and siege DPS that are much greater than Citadel, but it's offensively not as powerful. But defensively, it has a field resistance of plus 75% and a combat speed of 26, which makes me think these are the advantages of the Imperion, which I think means heavenly, just in case anybody was wondering. But I think these are the 2 things that are going to drive it up and above the Citadel as far as being your remote targeting hall.
It's also got that nice little resonance trigger that self-activates.
Yep. But here's something I'd like to point out. Remember when they came out with the first Generalist hull, the Zelos? They said the reason why it had a longer build time and a longer repair time was because we'd be able to swap it out. Now they've come out with the second Generalist hull, and notice that the build time and the repair time is shorter than the second class hull that we've got for that's supposed to be specialized for the next raid.
Well, I think this is supposed to be used in conjunction with.
Yeah, the only thing that makes sense for this to exist after what they said about the Zealous is the tandem we have been using in these targets, the tank and the. Because if you use the Zealous as tank, you cannot use it for remote targeting. That's the only thing. Yeah. If you're going for all generalist holes.
Yeah, and the other thing to notice is everybody considers the Zealous to be the tank, but it has a repair efficiency of 0.8, which is lower than what the Zealous was.
Yeah, but let's see from the two different perspectives. If you are one of those guys like George that is prepping for everybody and for yourself, and you are constantly repairing your hull, that repair efficiency is very important for you. If you are one of those guys that just will have 2 or 3 of these tanks in front of you, and you just go smashing the first, the second, and then the third, and then putting them to repair at night to keep going the next day when you come back from work, that repair efficiency is not as much important as long as you can repair those ships while you're not in front of the computer. Mm-hmm. Unless you have one of those SOS, then that's a big problem.
Yeah, but these are the two big combat speed and field resistance those are the big differences I see between this and the Citadel, besides it being much less powerful.
Yeah, it has a shorter remote targeting range than what the Citadel does. And then look at that turn speed. That's nasty.
Yeah, it's like driving a school bus with 2 flat tires.
I mean, that's like the heavy cruiser when the heavy cruiser came out, remember?
The problem with this is that without having seen the target itself, you cannot value if this is better or worse. Because the field resistance, well, if you're in remote targeting, maybe you can be away enough, but I don't know what sort of source is going to create the field. If something with a long range or like. The combat speed is what I see. It's the main problem of the all Citadels, for example.
Yeah. Should we move on to the D100Z? This is 9 million points. It was 15 million points for the Imperion. So we're at 24 million points at this point in the game. This is the first time that we've seen a ship. Have we ever seen anti-mortar evasion ever?
Mm-mm. I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
on the turrets we have, but not on the ships.
Yeah, we've seen MIRVs before, and I consider those to be very similar. Probably, if something gets shot, the anti-mortar evasion, the MIRVs, I consider similar. At this point in time, I didn't want to even try to work out the math with too much speculation as far as how much anti-mortar evasion do you need relative to a damage done by a MIRV. I don't know. So I left it out of this table on the right. They're very similar. The spread is very large on this one. It's 140, 100 on the judgment, which might be very good for these targets. I'm thinking it's tuned for these targets where it's going to do widespread damage. It does, what is that, 20-something% more DPS. It has a faster reload / cycle time. It has a lower deflection damage value because it's getting most of this damage out of the faster cycle time of 4.2 versus 10.2. So this may not be something that you would want to refit onto a ship that's going to go against something with deflection.
Well, it's a generalist weapon, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can only go on either the Zealous or
Zealous
the
or the-
Imperion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you wouldn't want to use this as something that goes. Well, actually, I took a. Huh. Why is it not showing up? I took a screenshot of the whole blueprint. Am I missing something? Weapon type, damage type, weight? I don't know. They've been changing so many things. I'm not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know when it first came out that it actually said generalist only on the blueprint. It was. I think Doom said it in the release.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything's been changing. There's been a lot of changes that have been going on between like the initial early release and video to the first confirmed release, and then it was changed again afterwards. There's been a lot of changes been going on with the prizes so far. But yeah, it seems like it's a good pairing for this weapon. I mean, we don't know the projectile speed or anything of that nature, or we don't know anything about the targets. But it seems like it's decent. I don't know if that I would refit for any of these bonuses without seeing anything, but
Yeah.
it's,
I would hope. I wrote an article today, and I'm one of the things that I really wish, because we're going into the new cycle and it's a new FM. This is going to be our FM after. I really wish they had something for us to see. Like, we're going into this raid blind, not knowing if the icebreaker is going to be the next, ironclad, or if it's going to be the next tide seeker. And then we have this new stuff with the generalist stuff that, it's really hard to say how effective this is going to be with no context.
Yeah, and since you don't know the target, you don't know if you need a tank, if you can just build them as blitzers like we did with the Tide Seeker. So it's very annoying at this point, because you don't know exactly in this huge list we have in front of us, what is the things that you think is going to be more suitable for you.
Well, I mean, with the other raids, I can kind of understand. Yeah, you can kind of keep us in the dark and this and that. The problem is everybody at this point, including Kixeye, acknowledges the FM is the absolute cornerstone of the entire game, right? If you want to play this game, you've got to be able to do the FM. We're going to go into targets that are going to effectively change or the entirety of the FM, and we have no clue about where we should concentrate or what we should concentrate on right now. This is the one area that really gets me twitchy.
Yeah, it's nice if we had a whip.
It's no. You know what? It's just real simple.
Rip whip.
They may have changed the way they're bringing out the content, but they have not fixed the problem that came out in December. No information means you got a bunch of people that are going to be building things and probably going to have to refit, and are going to be really upset because we have no idea which way to go on these builds.
Okay. Well, now we get to the trajectory plotter. 6 million. So we are at total. At this point, we're at 6 million plus 9, 15 million, 30 million. All right. And maybe we don't have anything we want yet. We may never end up with what we want at this point. But just cracking along and home. 30 million. Okay.
Yeah, and this, the first I don't like about this is special that is going to be a must for the generalist hull. Because if you look at the generalist hull, it doesn't have any boost on reload. It's has remote targeting for mortars, but doesn't have any reload for those mortars anyway. So you're going to be forced, if you want any boost, to put this.
Yeah,
I think that they want to skip the problem they got in the other generalists was the seismic runs. That people found that high velocity runs were even better than those, because if you were using the weapon suggested, at one point that reload was not helping you at all.
And if you look at this though, this is for the generalist hull, right? You put this on for those morts because you're going to need it. But it kind of negates look at the spread. The spread's minus 35% right off the top. We were looking at the mortar as having a high spread value, which may be valuable for the next upcoming target. But if you put this on here, you've just negated that value.
Yeah, and I'm going to add on what I don't like about it. I'm going to add on to what Renato said last night. I'm going to add on to it, but this sort of looks like a toilet in Star Trek: The Next Generation with the lid open. But
that I think was Brian, not Renato.
I see that as an old school camera, like one of the old 120s.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's taking pictures at the same time. Oh, that's even creepier. I don't like that at all.
I did a lot of photography, so that was the first. That's what keeps on reminding me of.
Yeah. That makes sense too. So it's a viewfinder for the trajectory plotter. So yeah, I can see that. It adds projectile speed of 40. Seismic rounds adds what? Does anybody recall?
No idea.
Okay, because I think the way to build these generalists is to look at some of the generalist specials, because some of them have been good so far. So I think it's close to 100 on the seismic rounds. That if you stack it, and then it also that one has ballistic damage, but just to stack this with some of the others, and you may build your projectile speed up in a similar nature that you would with the Harlock Citadel and HVR. Go ahead, Dino.
Yeah, the seismic rounds gave 100% projectile speed bonus.
Yeah, so now you're at 140 if you stack these.
That the problem of the spread that we were talking has a good point up there. We don't know yet how is the target, so we don't know if it's isolated targets in which the spread is more important because you want all them to hit on the same spot, or it's a big cluster with a lot of turrets then the spread helps a bit more.
So, well, it depends. That also depends on the weapon. That also depends on the weapon. With mortars, with rockets, the spread is actually a more important stat than it is with mortars, because the mortars just inherently are a different type of weapon. I mean, there's the hang time. There's just the way that they act. It's yeah. I don't know that the spread is that big of a deal on the mortars.
Well, now here is an interesting bug I have just found. Seismic rounds, which has the ballistic damage, projectile speed, ballistic reload, and splash, cannot be put on the same hole as siege targeting, which only does building and wall damage. Why is that?
Wait, say that again? Which ones can't be put in together?
Seismic round cannot be put on the same hole as siege targeting. I'm right now in the shipyard, and if I've got siege targeting on the hole, I cannot put seismic rounds on. If I take siege targeting off, I can.
Okay, but this stacks with...
I vaguely remember that.
But in any way, you don't want to put siege targeting on this if you want to put the new one that is coming, because it's better for explosive.
No, siege targeting stacks with the new one that's coming. But it won't. But you can't put both siege targeting and seismic rounds on at the same time.
Siege targeting and the new battery thing are. Oh, sorry, siege targeting. I was thinking on siege battery. Sorry.
But none of their things match. So why can't those two specials be on the same hole?
Probably because I'm going to take a stab at the reason why is because the background coding is probably the high velocity rounds background coding, and they just left that in there. It's an artifact. That would be my guess, if I had to guess about.
Okay, we had 30 million before, and now we're at 90 million to get the icebreaker, which is the either the Ironclad or the Tideseeker of the Garrison generation. And again, in the right-hand corner, we see a field resistance of plus 90. And a combat speed of 22, which is faster than something that we potentially use as a tank. Both the attack and defense stats have changed a lot over the last 3 or 4 days. This used to be plus 60 rocket range, which broke a lot of rules. Explosive defense used to be plus 80. Anything else they changed? But they kept on changing these things back and forth.
Penetrating was also plus 80 at first.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
they were
yeah.
both 80,
Explosive
80.
and penetrating were both at plus 80. Yeah,
Did the deflection change?
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
No.
I mean, yeah, I have a whole lot to say about this also.
And
Whenever I can, let me go.
okay.
Rib
But
into it.
one of the good things is it has a repair efficiency of 0.5, which is similar to what we saw with the Apollo and the Hellwraith. The most recent targets, it was at 0.8, so this will be easier to rank than what we've seen before. And I consider that one of the really good things about it. But again, go ahead.
Repair efficiency doesn't equate into rank, does it? I thought that armor points was what equated into rank.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Repair.
that.
But as far as you got on VX weekend and you're taking damage and you want to repair,
Yeah, you're gonna put 3 hours on each hole which is 6 coins per hole to rank this thing. That's
Yeah, but
insane.
remember,
That's
So if
that's
you
one
got
of the
five
things-
of them, if you got 5 of them, you're looking at 30 coins every time you die if you have to suicide this fleet.
No.
Yep.
you're not going to see that number because you are forgetting your R&D. And it's
Well, for
slowly going to
people
be
who
2
have R&D,
hours.
but I'm just
and
talking
something.
about the base. I'm just talking about base, Tito. On the base, you're looking at 30 coins every time you have to suicide this fleet.
well, except for the fact that you need to consider the fact that most of the time, I haven't done it on the recent targets. There's a maximum you can get even from taking damage when you enter a VXP target.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so if you can go in and out, and in and out, I probably only need to do it that number of times, and
Yeah, but it
everybody
depends on the
else
target.
Yeah.
You have, because if they keep placing these targets we got at this point, that is probably the one we are having, because unless they introduce the possible FM target, we are going to have to deal with this blaster. It's going to kill you 1-2 shots. So I'm not sure that once you get in the range of that blaster, you can go away and get back in. If you are talking, for example, of that target.
Yeah, we don't know anything about the targets, but again, this is locked behind the whole kit for the Imperion. So you needed to get all the 30 million, right? It's 30 million, right? 15 plus 9 plus 6 in order to have this hull available to spend 60 million on at this point. So the special abilities, which I assume stack,
Yes.
if you have 5 of these, so you're talking about 5 plus 15% explosive combat speed gets up there. 5 times plus 25. So, like I said, a lot of it's just going to be merely speculation because we don't know what the targets look like, and we don't know
Right.
what these advantages will give us.
Well, okay. So can I go off on the tangents now?
Go.
All right. I can't stand the fact that the repair duration's that much. I don't like the fact that it's a lot of armor points. One of the bonuses with this hull, though, is if you have 4 or 5 of them, the more you have in the fleet, the less that you have to rely on rank. Brian did the math yesterday, and I can't remember it because, yeah, he does that. But I think it's at a pretty middling rate. Middling rank. You're already maxed out for rocket speed, for rocket reload, because of the reload and the stacking effect. So you don't really have to get these sculled, which is a good thing. And since rank isn't linear, right? You kind of get those first ranks a lot quicker than you do the last ones, so that should save you a bunch. Much like the Cannoneer, though, this is one of those hulls that you need to have a fleet of. You're not going to be able to get away with just using 1 or 2 of these.
And the funny thing is, it doesn't say jet tier 5, but we guess it's tier 6, right?
It says tier 6 in the splash screen in the game. Which is
Well,
why I'm
I-
hoping.
So let's see.
I'm really hoping this
So-
turns out to be like the Tideseeker. It's from what I'm seeing, it feels like it's going to end up being like the Tideseeker rather than the Ironclad. And I pray, particularly because it came out first, I pray that is what happens. Because if it is not what happens, there's going to be a lot of unhappy pirates. But yeah, I mean, overall, I like the hull. I just really dislike that amount of armor on it. Worries me a lot. And for those people that think that they're going to pull this off as a tank, right? Part of that change that they did there with the defense, with the resistances, is really going to mitigate its ability to tank for, say, like the Imperion, right? Even if you have res battery on it, I mean, it's going to be really, really, really tough to not use this in a fleet of several.
Yeah, but the thing is that that was an argument that came to mind. So, for example, mine with the first you saw on it, but they have changed it so much that it's difficult now to say anything. Because the first time was 8080, and 8080, if you put the MX3, for example, you are going to the 90s, and that with the siege battle, you were at 95 resistance of the two sources of damage that you are probably dealing. But they are changing so much this so often that I don't know. From here to the first of the FM targets, maybe this is not even going on the water. It's just they put wheels and it's going on the land.
You know what I'm curious about looking at this blueprint though? What on this hull is doing 14 points of damage with no weapons?
Yeah, I think that's I was looking at that a moment ago, and I think that must be a mistake, or I don't know.
It's the cool sharp lines.
Ah,
Or maybe it's if
new
you have,
ramming special, right?
if you ram with the hose of this ship, you are doing 14 points of damage. So you have to ram several times before you start to scratch the paint. Hefe?
I think we lost them.
Maybe.
What I don't understand is why are they bringing out this hole before they bring out the skill hole? Any ideas, anyone?
I think they're still trying to find a good path for tech to come out. I mean, because I hate to say this because we do get kind of spoiled in terms of once something is given to us, we kind of have this entitlement issue. I mean, I still remember the bad old days where you don't know what the next raid's even going to be, let alone what is going to be good for it, or anything. I don't want to go back to that, but I also do not want to keep on going forward blind.
Yeah, except for back in the good old days, they weren't excluding hulls. They weren't making.
That's true.
They
You
weren't
had
putting
options.
95% defense handicap. They weren't putting 95% resistances against the targets. It was.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about mechanics. Hefe, I wasn't talking about mechanics though. I was talking about what our knowledge and how things were doled out to us. And I can actually hear you in hear me in your mic. I think your mic's picking up the show when you're not talking. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm of two minds. I can see both sides of these arguments right now. I'm kind of torn in between both.
Now, see, I'm just, I consider us to be more blind now than what we were back in the old days. Because in the old days, like Hefe said, there was nothing locking us. You know what I'm saying? And a target, you could find different weapon types, different damage types that you could use, So we had a mixture of fleets, and we knew we could try something, and eventually we'd find the right fleet with the right damage type. But in this new series of raids that they're coming out with, there's only one damage type that seems to be working, and they're locking everything else out. So unless you build the hull right and you build the right hull, you are completely locked out of that raid unless you take and coin a whole bunch to get back in it. You know what I mean? And that's not doing any of the player base any good. We need advance, especially not when they're throwing out all this stuff they're throwing at us. You know what I mean? They've reduced the amount of time, the raid cycle, from 4 months to 3 months, and they're throwing out multiple fleets that we got to build to be able to do the raid. So it's like we need direction. Kixeye needs to open up some communication with us, give us some kind of heads up on what the heck's going on.
Yeah, and about what you said before, George, that now we are a bit more biased. The thing is that on the past, you could use several different fleets to do raid targets. Now you're just limited to one.
That's a
single
mechanic
fleet.
argument. That's a mechanic. That's a mechanic argument. It's the same argument that Hefe used. The question was, why are they doing this? And the answer was the way that they're doling out the tech. Okay, you can't use the argument of anything that we had because it's a mechanic argument. And we're not discussing the mechanics. We're talking about the way the tech is getting rolled out to us. That was the question. I understand the old mechanics. I understand that you could use 17 different fleets in every raid to varying degrees of viability. That was not the question. No, Hefe, I don't get any feedback now anymore. Whatever you did fixed it, I think. Huh?
Well, I just refreshed. I refreshed.
Okay.
I didn't.
Yes, I think it fixed it because I don't hear any feedback at all from your side.
Okay. All right.
So,
And
perfect.
And the second part of that question is for the panel here. Okay, how upset do you guys think the player base is going to be if Kixeye waits and each week that goes by before we get this TLC Doom Rooster talked about that's going to give us the skill hole? How much more upset do you think it's going to make the player base waiting for that skill hole to come out?
It's going to be
Did it talk
directly
about that?
related to how long
Yes,
it takes to build.
Doom Rooster and forums dropped the hint that the new skill hole is going to be in a TLC after the raid, but he didn't say how soon after the raid.
I think it's partly what Tito said. It's going to be directly related to when the TLC comes out. But I think even more importantly I think it's going to depend on how well the icebreaker performs in April, or how difficult those targets are tuned in April. If they tune the A sets down so that you can actually get away with the icebreaker or the Imperion or whatever you go in with and have a decent raid, no one's really going to be upset. If you can do the raid, you're not going to be that upset. But if they don't do the tuning right and people go in there and they can't do shit, they're going to be pissed. It doesn't matter when the TLC comes out.
Well, the raids, the TLC, I'm missing your timeline there. The TLC is going to come out before the raid is my assumption. It's whether it's 3 weeks before the raid or 1 week before the raid is, I think, the issue that most of us expect. Is that what you're saying, George? Or
I think the problem is that many people is going to expect the TLC coming the next week before the. So, but it's going to be on the top of the BXP weekend if you have to rank that ship as well.
Well, yeah,
Because-
the only way you're going to have that ship and rank it is if you coin it, more than likely, unless they give us some really good tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not. I don't know. I have seen on the past with Ironclad, especially, that they have given us enough tokens that mostly of us that could do the Iron Maiden campaign has a full fleet of cannoneers that has built just using tokens. They have not put much coin or shipyard time on that fleet, but the tokens. Doing it with the skillful fleet, I don't know if they are going to go the same way. But I saw the same path also with the Tide Seeker. The first time the Tide Seekers came out, they gave us enough tokens to build two. When the Ironclad came out, they only gave you tokens to build one, and that was all. So I don't know how this is going to go.
okay,
And this is the other thing, George. How do you expect the skillful hull to go? Because if it's working the same way like in what we have seen so far, a tank it's a matter of skill, but it's not a matter of skill. It's about sometimes to rush or how to approach to the target. That's the only skill it requires. Besides the build you put.
The skill might be, I mean, with those field resistances and stuff, the skill might be where the tank is going to set off something And if you can't drive a secondary fleet, in one battle where you're having essentially two fleets, the tank and then your DPS hulls, it might be that those get affected by something. I mean, something's going to have to damage it, and that's and thinking through the FM targets or thinking through a garrison target, I think that's why I'm kind of heavily leaning towards the icebreaker, because there's only so much you can do that can't be offset by something. For it to cause damage to your DPS hulls, it's going to be a long range thing. You're probably going to be able to outrun it, and you might have an overall average better result with the icebreaker, because if you can't drive perfectly with doing two fleets at once, you might end up taking way more damage with the skill hull repeatedly over time than you would have if you had used the icebreaker and driven well. Because the icebreaker is designed for autoing. If you actually spend some time and drive it, you usually get better results. Not much better sometimes, but better. So I don't know. I mean, just Tito, that's a good point. Is that it's a garrison target, and just the way that the garrisons are, the nature of the garrison target lends itself to a well-designed blitz fleet. Now the catch is whether or not they have designed this like the Tide, or if they didn't get those resistances up high enough for that.
Okay. Let's end it on the icebreaker, but I wanted to throw out that Exile is mentioned that we will need a fleet of icebreakers to do the TLC. Based on past history, I think we'll need cannoneers.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that's the fear. I think just how much damage you might, or what target, because they've been lazy on creating new targets. They've just been rehashing the other ones and upping and generally upping the damage on them. So yeah, but let's move on to D101S, which I don't have a lot to say about, but let's do the point countdown. We were at 30 before, now we're at 90 million points. Going into D100S, which bumps it up to 110, just to get the existing, the new Tide Seeker build or Ironclad build.
Well, but at least this time you pay 90 million, so 90 million plus the 15 from the other one, the Imperion, but you get the full set. Not like the last time that we paid 90 millions and we just got the cannoneer without weapons, and then we got to buy the weapon.
But we're not at the full set yet, Tito.
Yeah, that 90 million is just the hull. 90 million is just the hull.
Yeah, you're not at the full set. We're paying as much for the hull this time as we did last time, and this isn't the skill hull.
We're at this is at 100.
That's my
this
concern.
is 110.
Yep.
And we haven't finished yet. So that's why I'm trying to do the little countdown. I should have put it on the slides, like something right over here, where I do like the countdown, like how many points you need to get to this point in time.
We can do math live.
Yeah, we can do math live. Or I'm just trying to do it verbally, as far as like how many points you need to get to this point in time. But yeah,
but can you multitask, Jefe? Because you are moving the slides, counting, all those things at the same time.
Well, I mean, rather than blow by this, I do have one thing to point out on this weapon.
Okay, go ahead.
It would be the spread. This is a really, really, really high spread weapon.
Yep.
I would think, particularly if they use wall targets, that you're going to want to mitigate that spread. You definitely do not want to make it worse than it already is. With a 150 spread, I think it's 150 divided by 5 is what, 30 and 30, 60. That's a 60. Is that right? That's 60, a 60 diameter
Yeah,
a
3
60
land
diameter
tiles.
spread. Yeah, so it's
3
3
land
land tiles. So you're a three land tile
And that's
diameter circle.
gonna be bad on another aspect of a garrison target. There's always ships in a garrison target.
Yep. Yeah, and the splash is the the damage is drops off as you go from center. I think it's linearly. So that 20 is not going to overcome a 60 spread off center.
Mm-mm.
Or actually, that would be a 30 spread off center, right? Yeah, that would be 30
Mm-hmm.
30 range radius. So, yeah, I don't know. If you can narrow it down, that'd be great. But I would definitely not make it worse. Do not use a special that would make your spread worse.
Yeah, George is saying don't use Incinerator 2. Is that basically what you're saying, George?
Is that combustion system too, you mean?
Yeah, combustion
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
No, if you're gonna use one of the explosive specials, you'll definitely want to use
Explosive system.
4. Yep.
Yeah, and then maybe another special that reduces that spread. Just saying.
Yeah, the narrow maybe is a good special. This one.
Maybe.
Have we made it to 120 million points yet?
We are at 120 million points with this one.
Yeah. I did a little bit of looking at it. It's tricky because they've never really explained this mechanic. It's similar to what was some of the special? What's the
Are you talking about the
special?
explosive? Are you talking about the explosive damage in the building and wall?
Yeah, how they combine.
I think they explained that the explosive damage gets done to the base damage, and then that damage, that final damage, is where they go with the building. I thought didn't we ask about this?
Well, this is
If not, we'll have to ask
about this when
Yeah,
the
if not-
Cannoneer came out with us high velocity rounds and so far.
If
That's
not,
the same as special,
we'll have to ask again, Hefe. If we don't have a solid answer, we should ask again.
yeah,
that was my
to-
impression.
Oh, I think it's very similar to the what's the special that came with the Hellwraith?
The sealed fire charge.
Yeah, where they were combining torpedo damage with concussive.
Hefe,
forget
don't you
how.
have this on the Cannoneer?
Yeah, it's happened multiple times. But I'm just trying to explain quickly that it increases the building and wall damage by 94.7. It's not additive. You're basically multiplying these two, the 65 plus the 18, if you're using explosive weapons. And the damage to weight ratio is the same as the Siege Battery 3. Because the Siege Battery 3 is 19, and it's doing plus 75, but this is doing 94.7. So if you have a weight issue or you're calculating your builds based on weight, this is the same as Siege Battery 3 because you're still getting your turret defense. But yeah, whatever. I'm just throwing that out there.
Overall, though, if you have the room for either, the damage is higher with the garrison battery, correct? With explosive weapons?
The damage is the same per weight, but it's higher because it weighs
Overall.
more.
Right. Okay. So overall, if you have the weight for both, the garrison battery is the one that you go with, right?
Yep.
Yes.
If
you're
make
using
that clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
yeah,
if
if
you-
you're using explosive
And if you
damage.
look at
Yes,
the
if you
build time,
if you're using
it's
explosive
much
weapons.
better than the Siege Battery one.
Okay. Any more on the garrison battery? All right. Let's see what's next. Oh my. I may need to get another beer for this. Yeah, the charged armor. These bad boys are 10 million points per plate. And you have a max of 10, for this one, and there's a second one, the C1M, and those are also 10 millions per plate. And they don't weigh a lot. They only weigh 125 tons. I think when I tried to play around with them, they're not that long to refit. And they're basically like, I've heard them described by Doom Rooster as a shield. That's sort of like, well, he described it as a shield, but basically a shield that just sort of falls apart. Explosive armor pool is the maximum damage that this armor plate can take until it needs to be recharged. And it's very easy to recharge. You just leave the battle and go back in. And by adding multiple panels, explosive armor pool does stack. So if you have two of them, it goes from 50,000 to 1 million. However, below that is explosive damage reduction. So if you have two of them, it's still at 10,000. So that's the maximum damage that it can semi-completely blocks, except for the minimum explosive damage, which goes through and ignores any sort of other.
Well,
You're
in any case,
still
get in mind
taking this minimum explosive damage. I've looked into this a bit, as far as having fun in games, but I didn't look into it that much just because of the pure cost of doing this in the raid, where just for this one of them, it's 10, you need 100 million points just to claim the max on these, which I just find to be ridiculous. And a redfish in the state of Florida, the slot range is between 1.5 feet and 2.5 feet. And I think she looks lovely carrying it. Any other comments?
Yeah, about the pool, get in mind what Ren said yesterday in the TFC show after looking at the mechanic.
Was I a mute
Because
the whole
this
time?
is a... I don't know, but sometimes you were not even saying anything. The thing is that this pool is regens at the end of each of the battles you do, but doesn't regen to the 100% of it. It regens to the same proportion that your armor points left. So if you have, for example, when you finish the battle, 90% armor points left, you are just going to restore this explosive armor pool, 90% of it, not the full.
Yeah, technically, it charges at the beginning of the battle. When you engage in battle, that's when the mechanic kicks in. Otherwise, you could be half dead, repair on the map, and then you'd be only at half charge. I described, like, I was trying to explain it to somebody today. They had read the article that I wrote and couldn't quite follow how it worked. And I think the best way I described it was that it works like a battery. You have the pool is your battery, and each deflection, or whatever you want to call it, is like each charge out that you can get. The other thing that I see a lot of people assuming is that I need the picture of the damn thing now so I can see what I want to say. Where'd he go? We lost him?
He had to refresh.
No, he got issues with the mic, so he refreshed it again. Jefe, present, please.
Is he back? I just need to see the picture of the thing so I can actually use real numbers.
Give me a second.
Let me see if I can find.
To you, because I think he is not there.
I got one. I don't know if it's the right one, but I got the chart. All right, so charge dama. So if, like, say on the explosive one, right? It's like 500,000 for the pool, and what is it, 10,000 for each reduction?
Mm-hmm.
you don't lose that 10,000 unless you actually take 10,000 in damage. So it's not only 500 hits that you get, right? Or 50 hits or whatever the hell the math works out to. If you only get hit with, say, a mortar or the splash of a mortar and you take, say, 5,000 damage, right? Or 3,000 damage, that's all that comes out of the pool, not the entire 10,000. I don't know where people thought that this was coming like in sheets off of this thing. It's your pool only gets reduced by how much you actually lose.
Yeah, by how much
I'm
damage
not
it
quite
deflects,
sure how that.
how much damage it absorbs. But the thing that people seem to be afraid of, George, is people are afraid that Kixeye is going to base the raid off of having this tech, and that the damage the weapons are going to be kicking out is high enough to exceed the reduction that you're getting from this armor. Which means every time
if
you
the
get
armor,
hit,
if that's the case, then you just change. If that's the case, you just change conventional armor and up your resistances, right? Because if it's a really high damage weapon, a resistance is going to be better than a reduction. You can counter that. I mean, they're going to have to, and that is a tricky thing because these things are 10 million points each. Either this is going to be tuned to where this actually works very well, which would behoove us, or they overtune the damage and then we just switch over to regular conventional armor and we make out that way as well.
Yeah, the player base is going to be upset that they spent the 10 million points. If they overtune to where we have to switch, making these useless, then a lot of people are going to be upset if they spent 10 million points per blueprint to get these things.
I don't know. I mean, the first thing that I'm going to do if I have extras of these, the first thing I'm doing is throwing them on my Apollos.
The
My
C1M.
Yeah.
Not the C1X. Not the C1X. Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, you know what I want to use them for. 91s. That'll make life way easier.
Well,
but
I went off.
I don't know. This is going to be this.
I went off for like 3 minutes, and then I realized that nobody could hear me. So, whatever. I was trying to explain this and all the problems with it and the good things with it, and whatever happened.
Yeah, and look, one of the other things I want to add too is that this armor is not. It has nothing to do with your resistances. This is the first thing. Well, actually, I should say this is the second thing in the damage calculation. So when someone fires at you, the very first calculation is going to be your evade. The second one is this reduction. So nothing has any bearing whatsoever on this in your build other than this itself. And once this is gone, then damage is calculated normally. Your resistances, then deflection, etc., etc.
Yeah, and I can't remember what nobody heard, but yeah, the weight is so low, and it recharges your explosive armor pool, as soon as you leave and enter. And I couldn't hear you guys either. So explosive armor pool does stack if you add multiple plates. Explosive damage reduction does not. But yeah, whatever. I'm sorry that whatever glitch is happening to Hangouts.
Your microphone.
You know what I'm worried about?
No, because it fixes every time I refresh. So it's not my microphone.
You're still cutting out every once in a while. Like that, when you just spoke, it was still cutting out every once in a while.
You know what I'm worried about with this? I'm worried about with
the 10 million points.
No, what I'm worried about with these armor plates is that this is a sign that next raid we're not going to have a retreat button.
Dude, you had to go there, really? You son of a bitch! I'm blaming you if that's the case. Oh, if that's the case, I'm blaming you so bad.
And that's going to piss a lot of players off again because we screamed bloody murder when they took the retreat button away last time. So why is Kixeye setting things up to just why does it seem like everything they're doing is based around trying to make the player base angry?
Except for I consider this type of the C1M and the C1X I put it in the category of coiner candy, and they've pissed off the coiners recently, but I don't know if this is like they're trying to snuggle up to the coiners again by giving them this prize for 10 million and they don't have to spend anymore. I don't know, but this is a coiner candy type of prize in my mind, unless they do something like what you suggested.
200 million points. That's just, that annoys the hell out of me.
I don't think there's anybody I've heard that's been happy with that. Yeah, we're done with these. Go ahead and go on to the next to the base guard, because that's what that next hole is.
This doesn't have. This is like it's not complete, Jefe. It's missing the girl. Or you took the picture at night without lights.
No,
Anybody who needs a base guard, this is the ship to get.
Yeah. Okay. Well, should I let you? I mean, I don't plan on getting this.
With that, the special abilities. The special abilities is what makes this a base guard. I'm sorry, there's not a conqueror hole in the game that can stand up to 24,000 corrosive damage per second by running into its field. If you park this in the right spot in your base, it's going to stop anything. I mean, there's not a conqueror hole that's going to run past this.
There's not any hull that's going to run past this.
Well, the current conqueror, tier 6 conqueror holes, I'll say that. The pride and the liberator right now don't have any deflection, against that corrosive damage. This thing will absolutely melt them.
Yeah, if they run into it, that's the one catch. It definitely will make you stop in a base. That's for sure.
Now, this is I think probably the best base guard that could have been released. I know they released it as a conqueror hole, but I see base guard all over this.
I think this is the coiner's candy right here, honestly. Can't stand that build time, but yeah.
I don't like the build time at all. But I mean, look at that. Libbies are coming into bases right now. This thing's got 15,000.
It's not good, but I prefer this over the 18 days of or 17 days of the Zoe Apollo, to say something.
Okay, I mean, we could compare it to the Visago Punisher then. I mean, context,
Yeah,
man. Let's use some context here. The build time is, compared to other Conqueror hulls, it sucks balls.
Yeah, because it's higher than even the Zoe Vendetta.
Yeah, it's it's a one-trick monkey or one-trick whatever pony, and it's whatever. I'm glad they moved it from a prerequisite for moving forward in the raid, and besides that, but yeah, that corrosive damage field is huge, and I think it's sort of dangerous that they introduced something like that in the game, but it's their game.
And the big question, does this affect subs?
Well, I don't know.
Does it affect
Subs are easy to keep out. Subs ain't really the problem in the game right now for bases.
I think he's thinking about going and hunting out on the map, because that was the first thing that I thought of, was this would be a hell of a thing to go and start popping off fleets. But yeah, I don't see an underwater. Yeah, it's a good question. Huh.
Well, it's 60 range though. Okay.
I mean, you can get it fast enough where you can chase down the subs, but I mean, it would be much cooler if you could just charge ahead and sink them while they're under the water.
Can you go back to that, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
No, we cannot.
No, here's the only problem I see with this hole. The stun on this hole is absolutely useless.
Yeah, 3 seconds. Yeah.
Well, no, even 3 seconds in a base, 3 seconds in a base attack is a long time, especially if you're stuck at the front and get pounded by everything, right? The problem is, look at the range on it. It's one land tile. You're not even going to, the stun's not even going to hit a ship sitting in your channel if you're behind a land tile and walls. A range of 22. That is, no, I'm looking at.
Which one are we looking at?
Okay. If you
Hefe,
look
you
at
gotta present again, man. It's too small. I'm too old. I can't read that little tiny ass shit.
Yeah, put it on present, please.
Ain't no please. Put it on present, damn it.
Well, you shut it off. I'm gonna start.
Yeah, I was going to speak like George. Hey, motherfucker, put it there.
No, okay.
Okay,
if you look
All right,
at
where are we looking now?
Okay, overload effect, right? The splash is 115, but the range is only a range of 22.
Oh, I see. Well, there's a, what the hell is that 115 above it?
Splash.
It says splash 115, right? And then it says range 115, and then it says
that is
range
true.
again.
It does, doesn't it?
What the hell? Son of a bitch.
And why do they have two? They got 8-second time, building 3 seconds, stun time 3 seconds. What's the 8-second time? This blueprint's all messed up.
That is the duration of the overload. The 8 seconds is the overload duration. I don't know why it's in the middle there, but I'm trying to figure out what range goes where now. Son of a bitch. Splash is 115, accuracy is 100 of the overload effect, right?
Right.
The range is that's the stun. Range 22 of the radioactive field, maybe?
So in other words, it makes
Or
a
the
full
resonance
land
trigger?
tile of.
I have no idea what in the fuck that 115 is. The overall overload effect has a range of 115, I would assume. I don't know what that 22 range is. The radioactive field?
I don't know.
It's got to be the radioactive field.
Yeah, but it's confusing because the stun time is 3 seconds, but then the duration is 8 seconds. I guess this is the
Yeah,
perfect.
that duration is the duration is for the overload itself.
Okay.
Which means
So
that
you mean
that 22 range must be the radioactive field. That's just
Okay.
it's not. Yeah, that's a messy way of doing it. I hope they fix that.
Because the splash 115, I would understand is the stun, because the stun always has been quite
Right.
long on the ships. But it's so bad assorted, all these things here, that is confusing. You don't know what you are reading, what works with what.
Okay, George, you think they're gonna fix this?
Oh no, I said I hope.
Oh well,
I said I hope. Not that they will.
the Alpha Behemoth has been out for about 8 weeks at this point, and you know how many things are wrong with that blueprint?
The other thing, though, while I do think this is going to be a great base card, there is one drawback to this that everybody needs to remember. This is a hostile field. So if you've got a Conqueror hole that is triggered by a hostile field effect, this is going to be its friend.
Well, yeah, but that's the 22 range that we think, right? So it has to
No,
be
no, I'm
really
talking about
freaking close.
No, I'm talking about over its special abilities. I'm not talking about
the special ability. Okay,
right. That's an aura effect, correct? Range of 60. Yeah. Okay, so that's a hostile field.
Yep.
So if you got something that's triggered by a hostile field, that's going to be your friend.
Not at 24,000 damage per second. It isn't. There's a caveat to that one.
What hole can stand up to 24,000 per second?
I have no idea. I'd have to look.
I don't remember a Conqueror hole that has that much deflection for corrosive.
But Leaps and Prides are at 74 resistance, right? So we are talking that these 3 seconds are going to become 1 or 1.5.
I mean, you at least had a good picture for the slide, because that 6.5 is a little depressing.
That 6.5 is very depressing.
I'm going to say go back to that other one for a second, because my very first reaction to that last slide was have you guys ever seen Friday?
Yeah.
The movie. You know the scene where the guy's like sitting over the other guy and is like, "You got knocked the fuck out." That other chick reminds me of that. Just initially, that was my first reaction. I was like, "Oh man, she's got better arms than I do. What the hell?" This one, on the other hand, all day long, twice on Sunday.
Hey, you know
Yeah,
what?
that
Though,
one's the one that. Yeah.
you know what? She could knock me out as long as she gave me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to revive me. That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, does anybody have anything else to add for the?
Does anybody else? Yeah, since we're at the end of the slides and everything now, has anybody else been experiencing heavy lag today?
Dude, I've been having problems for the last couple of weeks, like, and it's definitely a memory thing because I can open up the thing in Windows and you can actually watch my memory. It just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds to the point where it's like 2-3 gigs of memory on Chrome.
I still have some crashes from time to time, but I found out that you guys better uninstall the Chrome and install it again, because now there is a 64 bits release, and it was working much better if you all have 64 bits Windows boxes.
So uninstall Chrome and reinstall it?
Well, you go before you do that, you download the installer. There is one for the 64 bits that works for me much better than the one we have at the moment. I think you all have 56 and now it's 57. And there is just one specific version for 64 machines, and it's working much better, at least for me, because I have done all the things that
I'll have to look. Yeah, I'll have to look at that.
I have seen over there that likely remove that 100K file, extend, make it. What was I saw also? I think that one it's there is one mode that you can change in another file. I don't know. I have looked at many different changes, and I was still having them. I still have some from time to time, because as you said, I think that maybe they should check the memory leak they are having now at the moment in the game.
Yeah, like a lot of people in chat are saying that they're having the same thing. They have a lot of crashes, or they have to reload after a couple things. I would take a look at your task manager and see if it's bleeding memory like mine. Someone said update Chrome. My Chrome's automatically updated, and I checked it. But that 64-bit thing, I'm gonna have to look into that. So I can't just uninstall and reinstall it. I have to go and find the specific.
Keep in mind that the main difference between the 32 and a 64 is that the 32 bits of Windows or anything like that only manage the first 3 gigabytes of memory you have. The 64 works those 3 gigabytes and whatever comes after. So probably if you use the new one, you manage the memory a bit better. Have crashes, because I think it's a memory is what we have at the moment, but at least they take longer.
Mine says, let me see, because someone just said what version.
You have to go to those 3 dots.
Yeah, I got it. Version 56 something. I got a 64-bit version running.
54.
But it's 50,
where do you find that at?
56 something.
You go what it says. Let me check. What it says help is the second line from the bottom, and it's about Google Chrome. The one I'm using right now is 57, and at the end says 64-bit.
Yeah. I'll take a look. I'll make sure I update it tonight.
It's managing my memory better. It's not that it's not crashing, because I think maybe Kicksite should check how much memory it's demanding. Because as you said, if you look, if you put the task manager, you see that it's increasing in a speed way. It's likely doing a speed runs to get to the top.
It's the only thing that I am using that does this. It's the only thing that will bleed memory this badly, this quickly.
Oh, see, the only reason I brought it up is,
update it and see what happens.
The only reason I brought it up was because, up until today, I've dealt with lag, and I've dealt with it. But today, even like if I would scroll over a ship in my shipyard, it would take almost 15 seconds to bring up the box that showed what was on that ship. I mean, it was just
That's-
getting
Yeah.
that's
horrendous.
something. I think that the broadband they have for using for the servers is limited, or is not what they used to have. And every single time they upload a campaign or something like that, you will suffer those lag spikes. It's likely there is not enough broadband for them uploading the content for a TLC or for a raid, plus the normal traffic we constantly make into the game just for playing it.
Yeah, but tomorrow's the raid. We don't need this extra lag, especially not if we got to drive with skill to get freaking
Well-
a billion points.
Once all the block of the raid model is on the server, that lag normally goes away. Because if you not look at that, every single time they do a big update with big new content like the TLC, you will suffer the days before these lag spikes.
I mean, I've been having issues for a while. I mean, I've always had. I mean, it's always bled memory. Don't get me wrong. The game is always, since the day one, it's bled memory, just not as badly as it has recently.
Yeah, that's true. But are we doing anything constructive at this point?
We're always constructive.
Okay.
I think we have covered them all, Pepe.
Okay, I was thinking about ending the show and seeing if anybody else wanted to join us in the after show. I promised to them, Dr. Death, that you would do it yourself on the tinfoil hat. I know there's been a lot of requests for that. Show them how to
What
make
are you saying?
one.
A doctor that is teaching people how to make an excellent tinfoil hat?
Yeah, well, he's got a great one. I mean, he's got it right there next to him if you
Well,
want.
I don't know. You said before that because he was using that tinfoil hat, he lost the beard. This was the reason of the
Yeah.
hair,
Yeah, it
the
can
face
cost.
hair loose. So I don't know if that tinfoil hat is that good anymore.
No. I'm still a big fan of it. I'm just, I'm just thinking that he could show us how to do it's sort of like origami. It's an art.
Tinfoil
It's
origami. Tinfoil origami by Dr. Death in the after show. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Y'all are nuts.
We have 10 slots, so don't rush.
So
Limited
I mean-
spots available.
yeah. There's only a couple more spots in case people build their own. So
See, Maudi couldn't wait anymore, and he just already jumped anymore.
yeah. I mean, it's a tempting thing. It's how are we going to deal with it? I'm assuming, Marty, you're jumping in for the after show. You're probably don't want to say anything at this point.
Probably wants more pictures of this chick.
I'm not even sure, Marty.
He muted himself, so probably he's just coming for the
Waiting for the after show.
origami teaching.
Oh, it's for the origami? Okay.
Yeah. The origami is going to be. I mean, because I think at some point, me and Larry are going to be doing a cooking show, and then we combine it with Dr. Death's origami show. I mean, we're all set across. We don't plan to branch into other games like some of the other shows do. We're planning to branch into other things that you can do with your spare time, other hobbies, not other games, because we are hardcore battle pirates. We're not going off into other games.
In reality, what he means is he's too fucking lazy to do anything else other than this, and this is all you get.
I do other things. I just don't want to talk about other games.
We don't want to hear about it either.
Yeah, I don't want to know what you can multitask.
I mean, because it's
No, I don't want to know. I told you.
Okay, you don't want to know, but
Now we're getting off the rails, folks. This is where we get off the rails right here. We made it for about an hour and a half, and that's it.
I know George and Dr. Death want to know how to find braless girls that are wearing overalls. And I might do a quick little show about that.
Quite honestly,
You know.
I would rather have the ones without the overalls, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I can't put those in the show, but
Sure, you can.
yeah. Alrighty, so we have no other content to provide the people. I think we're gonna show up on Friday, probably a lot of the same group. We'll be started the raid and have some ideas on the raid. I'm contemplating. I'm not sure. I got things going on in my life, but we've talked about before potentially doing something on Sunday or Monday after we see how the new hall performs and talk about builds at that point, or but I don't know if it's going to work in this instance, because normally a lot of times we're getting conquer halls. We're not going to get a conquer hall this time, but as far as like there's so many prizes and whatnot that we didn't go over at this point because we went over
Dude, yeah, I don't even know if that you can. I mean, that's just there's so much, and like you said before, like I don't know what poor Andrew's doing, man. He's that poor guy.
I've got before we go off the air, I've got a prediction for Friday's show. I would say there is a 79% chance that it's going to be a bitch fest.
I think that depends entirely on the 107. Honest to God, I think that's going to be the linchpin in this whole thing. Is the 107.
Yep.
That is. I mean, that absolutely of all the things that are on the table right now, right? What is it? 11 hulls in the last 2 months, right?
Yeah.
10 weeks, 10, 11 hulls. All the prizes that are up there, the cost of the armor, the cost of the secondary hull, right? I'm sorry, but man, that 107 better not be any sort of headache in any way, shape, or form for anybody, because there's it's like the cartoon where there's like an avalanche being held up by a toothpick with a little string on it. The 107's that little toothpick.
Yep. Yeah, but the other thing to think about, George, is the 100 too, because Kixeye always ups in the last raid the primary target's damage, and we saw halfway through the last.
No, we lost him. Did we lose him?
No, he got shot from a grassy knoll.
Yeah, I think
He got shot.
no,
What the heck was that?
He got shot from the grassy knoll. Oh my god.
Woo!
The 100. Even if they increase the damage or increase the armor, I mean, I don't know. There's the pattern is pretty clear, and we've had 2 months of practicing it. I don't know that they can change it. I mean, they would have to change it significantly in order to fuck it up. The 107, on the other hand, yeah, I'm just telling you, that's brand new. It hasn't been seen before. It's a secondary, requirement now for the S set I'm just telling you, it's that little toothpick holding up a damn avalanche. It's the linchpin. If it does well, if it's set up well and it's balanced and it's okay-ish to get through and you can prep it and everything else, we're good. If not, there's gonna be a whole lot of pissed off coming down that mountain.
Yeah, how else are you going to get a fucking 100 and 400 million points?
I want 600. Look, I want 650 million, and
wait.
I mean,
what I am missing is I'm looking at my list and it says, oh my
God, you know what?
195.
I'm fortunate. Tito's in my alliance, and he said anybody that got their ally point.
You're fortunate because of that?
Yeah, he said he was going to help him out with the raid, so I figure I'll get Tito to do 500 million points for me, and then I'll just knock out 150 and be right about where I want to be.
Yep.
All right, Tito. You got a big task ahead of you.
Tito's going to be busy.
I think I'm going to give a new sense to the work mercenary.
I mean, personally, I think that Tito's going to look a little bit more like Dr. Death with a lot of hair missing. If that's what's going on. The next.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I think it's probably a good time to end the show because I think we've run out of constructive content.
Yep.
So good night, everybody. I'm about to post the link to the after show if anybody would like to join us and learn how to properly construct the tinfoil hat. So, if you're one of those people, join us. If not, let's join us on Friday.